Hey everyone, this is Andy Clements and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about how to start and build a fat loss program that actually works. Now, with so many conflicting opinions and theories and methodologies out there about the best way to start a fat loss program and the best way to go about losing body fat, it can be a minefield. It can be pretty confusing to actually figure out the best way to go about how to lose body fat if that's your goal right now. It can be super confusing to know what workout plan to follow, what diet plan to use, what cardio to do, what supplements to take, if you should even do any cardio. All these different things can be really overwhelming when you're just starting out. And I've seen countless people in this exact situation, over the years that have been really confused and overwhelmed on how to get started on a fat loss program. So in this video, I'm going to try and give you some of the most basic things that you need to focus on so you can get rid of the noise and actually focus on the things that work so you can start losing body fat straight away. So I've been a personal trainer for the last 8 years of my life, and over those 8 years I've primarily dealt with people that want to lose body fat, right? So I've primarily dealt with people that have come in been a little bit out of shape, a little bit overweight, and their primary goal is to lose body fat. Now the reasons behind that vary. Some people just want more energy, some people want more motivation, some people want to be fitter for their kids, for their spouse, to find a new relationship, whatever it is, but the commonality is always the same. They want to lose body fat and they're not sure where to start. Okay, so these people normally have tried something in the past before as well, and maybe you're the same, right? Maybe you've tried an approach or two in the past before and either had very limited success or had no success at all. Now in my experience, most people have tried. It's not for lack of trying that they can't lose weight or they can't lose body fat. The issue is that either they don't know how to start, they don't know what to focus on, or they've lost a bunch of weight to start with and then found it was unsustainable, found what they were doing was unsustainable, and ended up piling all the weight back on. Now does that sound familiar at all? Those people that yo-yo diet, that go crashing down in body weight, like lose 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds in like a week or 2 weeks, and then find what they're doing is super unsustainable, so they end up piling all the weight back on. How many of you guys have experienced something like that? That's super common, right? So my approach to fat loss is a little bit different to the mainstream way of thinking about it, right? So the mainstream, most common way that I found that people tend to think about fat loss on their own is just to rip every little bit of joy out of their life, everything they enjoy in terms of food, in terms of, having a lie-in, in bed, whatever it is, and they just like punish themselves into losing weight. You know what I mean? They don't work with their body, they almost abuse their body into losing weight for them. Does that make sense? So they end up doing endless amounts of cardio. They end up training with weights like 1 or 2 times a day, every day. They end up out walking or running all the time. They end up bringing their calories right down, so they're just eating rabbit food. They're depriving themselves of sleep. They're taking all the supplements they can find. They're on the shake diets, whatever they're doing. They're just trying to throw everything they possibly can at this problem because they're in pain and they want to get rid of that pain right now. And the pain is they're overweight, they've got too much body fat on them, whatever, and they want to drop the body fat down and get rid of that emotional pain right now. But my opinion, if we take a little bit more of a patient approach and a little bit more of a long-term view of the issue we're dealing with here, we can probably get more reliable and consistent long-term results that don't cause you so much discomfort in the moment right now. Does that make sense? So my motto when it comes to fat loss is to achieve the maximum results with the minimum workload. Now, I don't want you to confuse that with being lazy. Like, I'm not advocating for you to just not do anything and expect miracles to happen, right? What I'm saying is you want to avoid just bombarding yourself with every possible tool you can think of from day one, and instead be methodical and use the minimum amount of tools to get the maximum amount of results. Does that make sense? So let me explain what I mean a little bit here. When most people throw everything they can think of at their body from day one, I go for a little bit different approach. So what would happen if you threw every single thing at your body from day one? If you did all the cardio, all the weight training, dropped your calories as low as you could, got out and did as much walking as you could, deprived yourself of sleep, did all these things, right? Was that you probably lose a little bit of weight straight away. So you probably lose like, 10, 15 pounds within a few weeks. But what happens when that weight loss eventually stalls? What happens when you eventually get to a point where what you're doing is no longer enough to continue losing weight, because your body's always striving for that point of homeostasis, which is like balance, where it catches up with itself and the metabolism regulates itself to the new behaviors and habits. And when your body eventually catches up with itself in that way, what are you left with? You're already doing the 2 hours of cardio, you're already doing the weight training, you're already doing the steps, you're already doing the low calorie diet or the shake diet or whatever you're doing, right? Or the fasting diet, whatever, right? What are you left with at that point to add into the mix when your body eventually catches up with you and says, okay, I've reached that point of balance, I'm not going to lose any more weight? Because you're going to get to that point eventually. Everybody's going to get to that point. You're not going to continue to lose weight forever. And when you get to that point, you need to have another tool to throw into the mix to be able to say, okay, I've got to that point, now I'm going to add this. And that's why my methodology, or it's not my methodology solely, but this is the methodology I use. I find that it's a very sensible one for long-term results, and also for being able to actually follow the thing without feeling like you're like sacrificing your entire life, So instead of throwing everything at your body from day one, I advocate just focusing on a few key variables. And there's 4 key variables that I think you should focus on from day one of your fat loss diet in order to get it up and running and for you to be successful in the long run. But you need to know what to focus on from day one. So here's the 4 key variables. Number 1 is to set your calories. Okay, so this is the calories the amount of calories that you're able to eat on any given day. You need to find the amount that you're able to eat every single day and not put on weight. Okay, now this is a very important number, and it's going to give you a baseline to work from when it comes to calories in, when it comes to food intake in. Now, while there may be a lot of little like online calculators that might tell you the generic amount of food that you could eat on any given day, I tend to find these are a bit too generic and they don't work for everybody. So I don't tend to advocate for these free online energy intake calculators or whatever they're called. What I tend to do is I just ask people to find out how much they're eating on a daily basis right now, right? Because if you're maintaining a certain body weight right now, then it would make sense that the amount of calories you're eating on a daily basis is sufficient to maintain that level of body weight. Does that make sense? So let's say if you're eating 2,000 calories a day or 2,500 calories a day, whatever it is, I'm just making these numbers up, whatever number of calories you're eating, that's sufficient to maintain your body weight of, 200 pounds or 180 pounds, whatever, right? So let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day and that's sufficient to maintain your current body weight of 180 pounds, right? So as soon as you make a change to that up or down, it would logically make sense that your body weight will probably change up or down correspondingly, right? So if you change your calories from 2,000 to like 19 or 1,800, you will probably, again, not guarantee, but you will probably see a little bit of a downtick in your body weight because you've gone from the average of eating 2,000 calories a day down to 19 or 1,800, and then you're creating a slight calorie deficit. And as we know, the bigger the calorie deficit, the more weight you're going to lose, right? So you want to create a little bit of a calorie deficit just to start that healthy rate of weight loss, which would be like 1 or 2 pounds a week. Now, the best way to actually figure out and find out how many calories you're eating on a daily basis now is to just log your food. Just keep a diary of your food, not forever, just for like 3 or 4 days, and just be honest with yourself and just like eat how you would normally eat, but log everything. And I tend to recommend that people log it on an app, like MyFitnessPal, for example. If you've ever heard of that on the App Store, that's a great free app that you can use to just go on and log all your food to find out how many calories you're eating on a daily basis. Now, once you've got that number, then you can set your calories, whether it's that exact amount that you're already eating currently, or maybe a slight downward, like 100 calories less than that, just to create that little bit of a deficit. So you've got that small, increment that's going to start to get the needle moving in the right direction on the scale, but it's not going to be a massive overhaul of your life. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to set your meal timings. Now you're going to set these roughly. These are always going to be subject to change based on what's going on in your life, but you should set your meal timings, the amount of meals you have per day, based on your lifestyle. Okay, so if it's reasonable for you to have 3 meals per day and you know you're going to always be able to get 3 meals per day in, then schedule yourself to have 3 meals per day. If that's 2 meals per day, fine. If it's 5 meals per day, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have it. There's not a magic number of meals per day, but just split the amount of calories that you've already determined for yourself in point 1 into however many meals is reasonable for you to be able to actually fit in to your lifestyle on a daily basis, and you're going to be able to actually stick to it, right? Because there's no point in us saying let's put 6 meals a day in your diet plan, and you then figure out that after 3 days, actually I don't have time to eat 6 meals a day, I have time to eat 3, because work gets in the way and family gets in the way and commitments and all these other things that we do in everyday life that's going to get in the way of our attempts to lose body fat. They're all going to get in the way, so do something sustainable. Now the other point to that is I would also make sure that you have a good serving of protein in every single meal. Now the scope of this video doesn't cover exactly what you should eat in every single meal. I'm not going to go into that, we'd be here all day, but make sure you've got a good serving of protein in every single meal for muscle growth and repair, and also either a serving of carbs or a serving of fats in every single meal. So as long as you've got something like that, you've got a well-rounded meal, and you can add some veggies and maybe some fruit or whatever on the side, as long as it all fits into that first calorie amount we discussed in point 1. The third thing to set up is your weight training sessions. Now a lot of people say, why would I do weight training sessions when I'm trying to lose weight or I'm trying to lose body fat? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, increasing your amount of lean body mass is going to improve or increase the rate of your metabolism, and your metabolism is the amount of calories you burn at a resting rate. So you know, let's say there's a couple of people sat next to each other doing absolutely nothing. They both weigh the same, but one's got a lot more muscle mass than the other. The one with more muscle mass is going to be burning more calories than the one with less muscle mass and more body fat, because muscle mass requires a certain demand of blood flow and oxygen and nutrients to maintain its state. Does that make sense? So by building a growing lean body mass, by working your body with weights, and doing resistance training, you're improving the rate of your metabolism, and you're giving yourself an easier job to lose body fat while you're not doing anything, because you're burning more calories at a resting rate. The second reason is that when you eventually lose this body fat, and if you've got a lot that you feel like you have to lose, like 20, 30, 40 pounds or more, whatever, then you're going to want to have some sort of shape at the end of it, you know what I mean? You just want to be a sort of skinnier version of yourself. It's sometimes nice to have a bit of shape to your body at the end of the diet, or the end of the fat loss program, whatever it is. And weight training is obviously going to develop some sort of shape to your body. Now that's all subjective, you don't have to look a certain way, it's entirely up to you, but I just tend to find that most people would prefer to have some sort of a shape to their body when they've finished their diet. Now again, the way to structure your weight training sessions are probably beyond the scope of this video. I normally recommend at least 3 weight training sessions per week. 2's okay if that's all you can fit in, but at least 3, and preferably sometimes 4. Every single week. And for most people that are beginners or very little experience in the gym, I would suggest that you do either a full body split or an upper lower split. So you either train your whole body every single time you're in the gym, or you train your upper body and then your lower body in alternating fashion. And if you look at the videos on my channel, I have some in-depth explanations of how to actually structure both of those types of workouts if you need any more help on those. The fourth and final thing I would focus on from day 1 of a fat loss protocol would be to set your step count every single day. Now, basically what I mean by this is how many steps you're doing, like how much walking, how many steps you're taking every single day has a big bearing on your overall activity levels. So most of our calorie output every single day is dictated by our metabolism. The second biggest part of our calorie output every single day is dictated by what's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's just a fancy way of saying exercise that isn't kind of formal weight training or cardio, right? So the best way I find to track that is through steps. So the best way to sort of see how many steps you're already doing right now is to use the health app on your phone, which normally has a measurement that tracks your steps anyway. So you can see how many steps you've been doing over the last few days, last few weeks. If you don't have that, then the smartwatches, I don't have one, but people wear smartwatches on the wrists a lot of times, like Fitbits or Apple Watches or other brands like that, that normally keep track of steps every day. Otherwise you just got old school and just got like a pedometer that you can strap to your wrist, or you can put on your sort of belt buckle or whatever, have that to track your steps every day. And again, I would just treat it the same way as your calories and just get some data. So just go about your normal daily life with your step counter going, and just see how many steps you take on a daily basis. Now, if that comes out at like 4,000 steps a day with just doing your regular daily routine, then it's quite easy. All you're going to do is just put it up to 5,000, right? So you're not going to like go for this arbitrary number like 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever you might have heard on these energy calculators or from people that are, preaching one thing or the other. You're just going to literally see what you're doing already and then slightly increase it. The same as the diet. You're just seeing what you're doing already, you're slightly decreasing it, and the steps, you're seeing what you're doing already and you're slightly increasing it. So we're just creating a very small deficit through little habits that aren't overwhelming, and you probably won't even massively notice a difference in your life, but they're just creating a little bit of a deficit to help us start creeping down and start seeing the progress. Because the biggest motivator that you could ever have to keep going and keep these habits up is progress. Because once you see the changes on the scale, the changes in the mirror, people start to comment on, if you lost some weight, all that sort of stuff. I know it sounds superficial, but that's the biggest motivator that we can have sometimes, is that we can actually see physically with our eyes and with our senses and the feedback from people around us that we're making progress. That's a huge motivator for a lot of people. So that's it. That's the 4 variables you should focus on from day one, in my opinion, of a fat loss diet or a program or a protocol or whatever you want to call it, right? Now, as you go along, you will eventually stop losing weight, okay? But the good thing about that is that after 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of doing this, when your weight loss eventually stops and you go for a week or 2 without losing any weight, you have so much more you can then add in. So you can literally just go from, let's say 5,000 steps a day to 6,000 steps a day. So it's an extra like 10 minutes of walking, you know what I mean? Like, it's literally a little bit more effort for a little bit more results, and then you've got that sort of progress that you can make, just a gradual increase in activity and a gradual decrease in food. Very, very gradual. And I don't always try personally, in my personal preference, to keep food as high as possible for as long as possible and let the exercise do the work. But you don't throw everything at it too early. You keep things at a relatively moderate level for as long as you possibly can, because again, the motto is achieve the maximum results with the minimum workload. So the work you're doing, you're working hard in your weight training sessions, you're working hard in your cardio sessions or your steps or whatever, but the thing is, you're not just throwing everything at it, you know what I mean? You're keeping it to a minimum. So the last 2 things I'm going to say to wrap this video up. The first thing is to be consistent. None of this will work if you're only doing it 3 days a week or 4 days a week or even 5 days a week and having weekends off. You know what I mean? You need to do it every single day. And if it's not simple or easy enough for you to do every single day, then you're overcomplicating it. You need to find something A, that works, but B, that you can be consistent with, and you're not going to be tempted to just take a day off. Because it's quite easy for us to take a day off of our diet or our program or whatever, and lose a week's progress, because we've just gone from one mindset of fat loss to another mindset of fuck it, and just eating whatever was inside. So be very, very consistent. The second thing that I'm going to mention here is it normally helps to find a way of being accountable. So accountability is such a massive thing, and that just generally means like having somebody that's going to keep you honest on your own journey, like somebody external to you or something external to you. Now, whether that's a community or a group or a single person, having a personal trainer, something like that can be a very, very powerful tool to make sure that you stay honest on your fat loss program. You turn up to the gym, you do your workouts. A training partner or a friend that you go to the gym with can work in a similar way. You know, you can just ask a friend to check in on you. You can ask the gym receptionist to call you out if you miss a day at the gym when you said you'd be there, whatever, you know. But finding a way of being accountable is a really powerful tool that can help keep you consistent on your fat loss program. So that's pretty much it. That's the tools and the tips that I have for starting a fat loss program that actually works from day one and staying consistent and being sustainable all the way through to the end of your program. I hope that helped. I hope that was valuable. If it was, then please drop a like on this video, drop a comment, let me know what you thought, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos on body transformation, muscle building, fat loss, and everything else like that. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll speak to you next time.